Everybody, today we're going to talk about what I do for fun in New York City. Just for context, I am 24. I make decent living. I've been in New York for 3 months now, 4 months now, and I'm extremely extroverted. So keep those things in mind as you compare/contrast yourselves to whatever you do in New York or what you look forward to doing in New York if you're looking about coming to New York. Number one biggest thing to do in New York is definitely to drink and eat. I would not consider myself a heavy drinker. I'm actually not drinking for the time being till mid-July for a variety of personal reasons. But typically, while drinking and eating, there's a couple of neighborhoods or spots that I typically go to. Lower East Side is kind of the cool, young professional place to be. St. Mark's is a street on Lower East Side that I go to a lot. There's a lot of bars and good eateries there. As evidenced by how I look, I tend to go to Chinatown and Koreatown a lot. A lot of good food there. Actually, I would say that the best food is not in Koreatown or Chinatown, especially as a Korean. I think Koreatown's kind of like a Disneyland. You go there because it exists and there's a lot of people there and a lot of activities, nighttime activities, but the food there is overpriced and honestly not that great. But yeah, I tend to go to those places a lot. There's also a neighborhood on the east side of New York called Flushing. You could take the 7 train down to Flushing in Maine, probably for about an hour or so, anywhere, maybe 40 minutes from anywhere downtown. Lots of cheap, good eateries, specifically Asian food. If you need recommendations, feel free to DM me. But if you want good food, I would head out to Flushing. And on top of that, there's a couple clubs in Midtown or a bit above these more hip spots compared to the Lower East Side. I go to this club called Slate a lot. They're a double floor. Top floor is like more EDM and club music. Bottom floor, more hip hop and pop. Huge venue. As an extrovert, I like when there's a lot of people. I happen to know a promoter there. Not a weird flex, just a statement of fact that sometimes gets me in for free. Hopefully Slate can sponsor a video in the future. But as the summer comes along, I think the lines are getting longer and longer, and it's not been free of charge. But long story short, Slate is a good, diverse, a lot of people type of club that you want to go and not be self-conscious. I haven't explored Brooklyn that much. I know that's a big part of New York, but I've heard that a lot of cool hip things are there with bars, clubs, good food. I've had pho there once, but if you're into that kind of scene, Brooklyn is cool. There's a rave-esque outdoors club called Mirage, which is really famous, that a lot of DJs come through, a lot of EDM stuff. You should definitely check it out if you're into that kind of stuff. On top of nightlife, New York is very big, and because of that, I like exploring. This is gonna make me sound like a psychopath, but as an extrovert, when I get stressed out, I just go outside and walk around and like being amidst people. I literally just get energy from being around people in general. I don't have to really know them or have to be talking to them. So walking around in New York City, especially when it is warm and not snowing, is also a great part of time to do for fun in New York City. Central Park, obviously, a very centralized place where there's always people. You could walk around, good walk, good views. Museums are very extensive, somewhat expensive. But if you are a New York resident, sometimes you can get them free. I recommend MoMA and Met as the two biggest and most popularized ones. And they're not really tourist traps. They actually have good art and good access to seeing things, good expositions. I would say the last thing that I really like walking around is the entire neighborhood of Soho. They're just cool shops that you can see. The views, the buildings are super nice. It really feels like you're in the heart of a booming and cool and hip city. Lots of pretty and good looking people walking around, which is always a good sight. Highly recommend Soho. Another thing that I thought about a lot what I do for fun in New York is also leaving New York. But that's not to say bad things about New York. But because New York is very well positioned on the East Coast to go almost anywhere. You can go to Chicago, you can go to Boston, you go to DC, Florida, Europe, all relatively easily. And there's LaGuardia, JFK, and New York, all to fly out of, which I believe all three are international airports. Maybe one of them isn't, but nonetheless, there's easy access to a lot of places when you're strategically located in New York City. One aspect also of New York City that I really enjoy is when it's super populated. So there's always cool people to meet. Always people. Period. I have friends from back home, friends from high school, friends from college, friends from work, friends from previous work that all live in New York. So you will have some way to encounter people in New York City. And on top of that, because it's such a tourist attraction and a place for young people to have fun, a lot of people visit New York. So there hasn't been a month actually that has gone by where someone has visited me almost every weekend. Maybe not directly, but they're in town and they happen to see me because I live in New York. So a lot of extroverted-esque activities. Some things that I guess I missed out on is, as mentioned before, I'm not really a rave person, so I'm not attending all these raves. I do like concerts, but they tend to get expensive, and my benefit from going to a concert is not as high as the cost associated with it, but I would like to enjoy them more, maybe go to a couple of musicals. I haven't been on Broadway yet, because I guess I'm not drinking for the time being. A lot of activities, obviously, as a young professional in New York, revolve around drinking alcohol, something I'm not engaging with recently, but that's something I guess I'm kind of missing out on, but I still have a lot of fun out sober. I don't drink coffee. I think coffee is also a pretty big thing in cities, and like going to cafes, that could be exciting. Not really my cup of tea, pun intended. And yeah, I think there's a couple of introverted activities or sports activities that I just don't partake in. People are really into rock climbing in New York City. I would like to get involved in like squash or racket sports, just don't have the people to. Probably need to join a couple of groups here and there. I've also seen people engage in these like social clubs and just to network. There's a lot of activities going on always. As a member of Web3, there's all these NFT things going on all the time that you can sign up for, newsletters that have activities. I think that's the biggest strength of having fun in New York is that there's always something to do, always people to do it with, and plenty of diversity to go along. So yeah, in essence, for fun, I do what most people do that are my age, I think. I drink, I eat, I go clubbing, I meet people, theoretically go on dates, but not really, and go traveling. And I think New York is very well strategically placed to do all those things. Yeah, so if you guys are in town and need recommendations or want to grab a coffee, even though I don't drink coffee, shoot me a DM or reply in the comments below. If you have any recommendations for what to do in New York, please let me know. I'm always looking for new and cool things to do. I think I will probably continue and make more videos on what I've been doing in New York, any tips and tricks of exploring New York. Even though I'm definitely no veteran, I tend to be very good at noticing things to do and how to do them well. Thank you guys for watching, and if you guys see me in the streets of New York, make sure to give me a little hello, and I will see you guys next time. Let's go.